So let's take a little quick look at Longwood Gardens.
Welcome to Longwood Gardens, one of the great gardens of the world. While our roots date back to the 1700s, our story really began to take shape in 1906, when our founder, Pierre S. DuPont, purchased the property to save a collection of historic trees. Over the next 40 years, Mr. DuPont created formal gardens, majestic fountains, and naturalized landscapes that continue to be recognized internationally and enjoyed by millions of guests. A grand conservatory, our crown jewel, and one of the largest greenhouses ever built, is home to thousands of plants from around the world and showcases the art of horticulture, no matter the season. Thanks to Mr. DuPont's vision and legacy, we continue our commitment today of excellence in garden design, horticulture, education, and the arts. While guests may come for the beauty of our gardens, they also find a place filled with discovery and learning. Our diverse education programs for all ages focus on grooming the next generation of gardeners, whether you're an enthusiast or a professional. The performing arts play an important role in our gardens too. Throughout the year, we host concerts and performances in our inspiring garden settings. Nestled in Chester County, Pennsylvania, just 30 miles west of Philadelphia, wonderful surprises await you at Longwood Gardens. It is our pleasure to welcome you to this online learning program.
So just a little look at my classroom. I hope you enjoyed that. Typically, we are all about the education here. That's what our founder had really wanted us to place emphasis on, educating people, especially in the field of horticulture involving public gardens. We are relatively new, dipping our feet into the pool of virtual programs, but we understand the need. A lot of our schools can't get here due to financial constraints or distance. And it really has taken off. Of course, that's what Mike is all about over there in the wings. So I just wanted to give you a quick little look at how we're set up from our end, where I'm actually projecting from. This is the snapshot of the front of our studio. So where you see this beautiful cactus is actually where I'm seeing you presently. The camera setup has this light ring on here because we use reflective media. We're using a green screen technology, chroma key technology. Anybody familiar? Do you have a studio in your school? Oh, so you know all about this. So some of the interactive components, some of the things that we do with our presentation, you'll see pieces of some of our different programs as we go through. Your students will always be interactive with the educator with different materials that we send to you for each of the programs. We use a document camera. It's hard for us to talk about plants without the children really being able to experience those plants. So document cameras, videos are all part of our regular programming. So what is it that we do? Our lessons are all aligned to national standards, as you will find with a lot of the other content providers as well. We're upgrading those to next generation. The present topics that we are broadcasting at this time, desert and tropical plant adaptation. So we take you and your students to the Sonoran Desert or to the Amazon rainforest, and then back to Longwood Gardens, written for grades 1 through 12. You guys are K-8 from my understanding. A Plant's Life, it's a free offering, free. So I beg you to take advantage of it. Great time when you're starting to talk about the life cycle and the parts of a plant. Really popular with 1st through 4th grades because it's a big part of your programming with your school. Tremendous Trees, all about the trees here at Longwood Gardens. And another free throughout the month of April. We celebrate Arbor Day and Earth Day. That's a 30-minute program, and we'll get into times and all that in just a little bit. But a shorter program that's more fun than educational, highlighting our tree houses and stuff here at Longwood. For each of the programs that we offer, you are sent materials. You need to do nothing but sit back and enjoy. So this is the information, depending on the lesson, but what the students will receive. So they have a workbook so that they can interact with the educator and do what I'm doing at the same time. True and false cards in lieu of shouting out and raising a ruckus, which we still do as well, but raising their true and false cards throughout the presentation. Photo cards if we're talking about specific plants. You as a teacher, depending on the lesson, receive a book that's germane to your lesson. So for our tropical lesson, the younger grades love the great Kapok tree. And if you know nothing about tropical plants and their adaptations, all that background material will be sent to you as well as part of your teacher guide, as well as pre and post activity ideas. So all the hard work is done for you when it comes to virtual learning with us and a lot of, as I said, a lot of other content providers as well. So I want to show you a little snippet of our tropical plant adaptation lesson and a little bit of our desert plant adaptation lesson. So as I said, we take you and your students to different parts of the world. So traveling from Kennett Square, Pennsylvania to the Amazon rainforest in Brazil, working with the students to understand that it's an extreme climate area, that you have hot and humid weather there, and that those particular plants and trees in that area need to adapt or change in order to survive in that particular environment. Then we bring them back to Longwood Gardens and show them how we here have been able to mimic or recreate those same conditions, the climate, the heat, the humidity, just inside our rooms as it would appear in the Amazon rainforest. And then looking at 3 particular plants and defining their adaptations. This obviously is not tropical. It's part of our desert plant adaptation lesson, wildly popular with the 3rd through 4th graders, I think because they understand desert plants better than the tropicals. So this century plant, so called because it was believed that it bloomed only once in 100 years. Not necessarily the case. And of course, this guy's growing inside, so no predators other than small children trying to poke at it. Regular watering, so better conditions than in its native environment. So much so that ours grew, the flower spike grew at a rate of 5 to 6 inches per day. So tall that the panels in the greenhouse had to be removed. And that flower spike continuing more than 30 feet above the greenhouse there. So let's
I've
take a look
seen
at
these
the agave
before.
and its adaptation.
Have you? This is an agave plant, a very common sight in the desert. Let's explore together some interesting points about the agave. The leaves of the agave are covered with a thick, waxy coating. This adaptation helps the agave maintain its water supply, as well as protecting the plant from the heat of the intense desert sun. Would you want to touch the end of these agave leaves? The spines you see here help protect this desert dweller from predators. Although it looks like it's covered in chalk dust, the natural blue to grayish green color of the agave is another adaptation of this plant. The light color reflects sunlight, allowing the agave to stay cool in the hot, dry desert.
So that would be just one of the plants that we would feature up close and personal, looking at the adaptations for this particular lesson. We kind of follow the same format for the tropicals, but the kids now have an understanding as to the reason why this plant is silvery and it has the spikes and spines on it. So now using my document camera, I want to show you the structure of the agave up close since we can't show the kids in person. So you can see that light silvery coating, and that's of course to reflect the sunlight so the plant's not burning in the desert sun. And of course those spikes and spines that we should avoid. But the most unique adaptation or feature of the agave is its rosette shape so that it can capture as much moisture and condensation as it can during those cooler hours, especially in the morning. So then referring back, working with the kids in their workbook, who can tell me 2 of the adaptations that our expert told us about involving the agave? Who can tell me the reason for the spines on the agave? Anyone brave enough? Is it hard to see? So spines, obviously protection from predators, because who wants to touch that agave? And the reason for the light color, does anyone recall the reason for the light color of the agave? The light color, reflection of sunlight. That's the same reason we wear light colors in the summer and darker colors in the winter. Darker colors absorbing the heat, those lighter colors reflecting it. So just little snippets of our lesson here with a wrap up at the very end. So true or false, using those cards that the kids had, true or false. The light color of the agave helps it reflect sunlight, true or false. I wish you guys had your card. Of course, that is true. So about a 10-question wrap up, a little game for them at the very end, followed by, depending on the age level, a drawing activity with a corresponding writing activity to try and reinforce the language arts portion of the lesson. So in general, as I said, the only one that doesn't apply to this, our Arbor Day lesson is the only one that's 30 minutes. Most of the programs are about 45 minutes in length. That generally includes about 30 minutes of contact and the content itself, with 15 minutes for the fun, the silliness, the questions, the responses, so all that interaction. They are available throughout the school year. I don't know what your school is. Usually we say September through June, but it's also done at a time of your request. So we don't stick to a schedule. We don't, jump you and put you in Monday at 2 o'clock. It depends on your schedule. And in order to schedule that, you could either do that through Mike at fieldtripzoom.com or by contacting Longwood Gardens directly. The process itself is as simple as linking into this call today. So very, very simple process. That tropical adaptation lesson that you saw, we have gotten together with other really good content providers for what they called a festival, and we came up with a common theme. So from October 5th through the 9th, we're offering that particular lesson, the tropical plant adaptation lesson, instead of $150 for $45, so $1 a minute, just a week only. And other content providers will be offering something from their art museum or zoo along the lines, the theme of what floats. So a lot of opportunities for you to get your feet wet and try this interactive learning experience with your students or the virtual field trip. Okay, I am done talking. Now it's your turn to talk to me and Mike.